Criteria and constraints. Criteria are things the design or solution system needs to do in order to be successful. It's requirements. Constraints are the limitations on the design. These may be materials available, the cost of the materials, the amount of time you have to develop the solution, environmental factors. In this image, we have some graphics representing criteria and constraints. If we look at the top row, we can think of these as some general criteria for well-designed PPE, regardless of the situation. So criteria, it's going to need to be protective. It's going to need to be easy to wear and when in use. Ideally, it's going to be environmentally sustainable and have style that is appealing to the user. The bottom row is constraints. So if we look at any PPE we're designing, cost might be a factor, cultural perspectives might be a factor, as well as psychological comfort with the idea of the PPE. What are some other constraints that you can think of? In your Maker Journal on page 2 at the bottom, you will see empty circles. Please use these to fill in your ideas of criteria and constraints for our initial project with designing a PPE for your favorite movie. So top row is criteria and the bottom row is constraints. And you can either write words in the circles or do a simple graphic. Let's now look at page 3 of our Maker Journal, the exploration page that has a how might we question and the collecting information, building empathy section. You're going to be doing this on your own as you develop your own project idea. In this case, the how might we question posted is, how might we get more people to wear masks? Specifically, how might we get more people who don't want to wear masks to wear masks? Yours might be, how might we design better sports PPE? There's a whole range of questions you could do for your beginning, large, broader question. So go ahead and fill that in with what you want to put. Then we're going to collect information on the user. So we're going to look today at a specific video about a user who did not want to wear her mask in Costco. And it's very easy to look at this video and feel really distressed by her attitude. But how do we build empathy with people whose opinions we'd really like to change and actions we'd like to change? So here's the video I'd like you to watch, and then we're going to fill in this section here about feels, says, thinks, and does in that particular situation. You're going to be doing this for what situation and the user that you're going to be designing for as well. So let's watch the video. So watch this video on YouTube and then return here. So after watching that video on YouTube, we can capture some of the information. It's very easy to write down what she actually says in this situation. She says she doesn't have a medical condition. She says she's not putting it on. I'm a U.S. citizen. She says that a couple times. I'm not going out. I'm an American. I have constitutional rights. And this is the United States. So those are captures of what this woman said in the situation. In the does section across from says, this is also relatively easy to capture because you're just observing and you're just documenting what is done. So she hangs the mask from one ear, she refuses to leave, she sits on the floor, she waves at people, she does scoot out of the way to make more path for people to push their carts through, and when she leaves, she throws the mask on the ground outside. So those are her actions in this situation. The next two sections are feels and thinks. And hopefully you'll be able to interview your user personally and be able to pull out the feeling and thinking. It's hard to do that with just a single video with someone that we have not interviewed. But let's try it anyway. This will help you as you fill out these different sections. So after doing the says and does section, you're going to do the feels and thinks. So going to the top, we're going to interpolate from what she said and what she did to infer what she feels. So perhaps she feels oppressed, angry, defiant, and controlled. Perhaps she feels patriotic. She mentions multiple times that she's an American, that she's a U.S. citizen, that this is the United States, so she believes she's being patriotic. She must feel safe in her health if she's not wanting to wear a mask. Her actions of throwing something on the ground as well as sitting on the ground shows frustration. And her defiance to multiple people in this environment, her defiance to the rules of Costco, shows that she's unafraid. So now let's tackle the bottom section of thinks. So again, we can't get into someone's head, but we can infer from what someone says and does, and hopefully you will be able to even ask someone when you interview them and talk to them what they feel and think. But let's do this exercise with this video. So she thinks it is a constitutional right to not wear a mask. She says that several times. She believes the situation is unfair, and she thinks her health is fine. And I think that perhaps she also thinks that not wearing a mask is not really impacting her health or others. So these are perhaps some of the things that she thinks. And she also thinks that her right as an American gives her this option, this choice of not wearing a mask. So after you complete page 3 of your Maker Journal, move on to page 4 and complete this page as well. So this is you continuing to narrow down and focus your project to a specific user. In section 3, where it says problem statement, you're going to write down the person that you are focusing on. So blank needs a way to blank because the very first blank line is your user. So who is it? Who is it you're designing for? It could be yourself. It could be a field worker, an athlete, a healthcare provider, whatever you choose to focus on. Since we're focusing on the example of this particular video, I'm going to just say here, Costco visitor needs a way to, and then we need to put in a verb there. And we're going to maybe say, Costco user needs a way to find freedom, personal choice, and options because she feels oppressed, controlled, and angry when she doesn't feel like she has a choice. This need statement could be shortened, but basically it sends me in a direction of how to address this user's needs. So I'm going to be imagining if I pursued this project, how might I build choice and patriotism into solution system for this user when she enters Costco. So that might lead to brainstorming on ways when she enters, or maybe even other ideas for promotion of different types of masks that might look patriotic. How can I give her choice in this environment and empower her to feel that she is being patriotic and having freedom of choice in her options? So we'll go into brainstorming in future sessions, but here we're just asking you to create a problem statement to bring back on Thursday. So again, finish page 3 and page 4 of your Maker Journal as best as you can. That's going to require you to interview your user that you're imagining, and this will lead to a longer journey of you actually developing your PPE project, your prototype, that you will be presenting in the showcase in the last Friday of this camp.